What up guys, welcome back to another Mega Luke Gaming video. Today I have a very special project that I've been working on, and it is I have created the lost starter decks for all of the legends that didn't get a starter deck in Riftbound set number 1. So of course we have the 3 starter decks. We have Victor, Lee Sin, and Jinx, and they're all built very similarly. So what I've done is I've reverse engineered them. I've kind of figured out what the commonalities are between all of these decks. For example, they all have an even split of 6 on the runes. They got 3 battlefields. They have somewhere between 4 and 5 foil rares, 0 epics, no signature spell, only 1 copy of each foil. The split of mind to order in this deck, we don't have to worry about being too even. Generally speaking, units and spells, you want to stay between 10 to 16 spells. Victor being the spell-heavy one at 16 is the most, and Lee Sin at 10 is the lowest amount with 26 units. There's exactly 1 champion unit for Jinx, and the whole deck is built around the champion unit and the legend Jinx. Draw an extra card for fewer cards and discarding cards, right? Those work together. And that's kind of true with all of the legends, right? Let's take a look at Sett. Says when a buffed unit control would die, you can pay a power and exhaust me to spend the buff and recall it exhausted instead. And when you conquer Red Me. Very cool. And Sett here gets +1 for each buffed friendly unit at my battlefield, and he's a tank. So these work directly together, right? We get benefits from the buffs, basically making our units really hard to get rid of, because even if they would die, we just recall them anyway. So we have Pit Rookie, Sithri of Cloudfield, right? Great 2-drops that both care about buffs. Let's throw them in the deck. Also, all of these decks came with some form of hidden. Hidden is especially tricky. So the starter decks all have to come with some hidden stuff. So Pocket Club helps us check that box. We're going to go with 3 First Mates, 2 Noxian Drummers. Wildclaw Shaman directly cares about the buffs. Kinku Monks, a couple of those that directly care about the buffs as well. One of the foil cards we're going to go with here is Albus Ferris. When you play me, spend any number of buffs. For each buff spent, channel a rune exhausted. So this is good in the deck because Sett, you use a lot of power, which means you're going to be de-ramping yourself. You're going to be using your runes as a resource. So you're going to want to make sure that the ramping is actually going to be pretty good for you. Even though you do spend the buffs, and we don't really want to be spending buffs in this deck, I do think that this would be maybe an inclusion in the starter deck. It's kind of a nice card to play with. Peak Guardian, also pretty good. Haven't seen this played too many places, but this is great for the buff plan in yellow. And a couple Stormclaw Ursines for the same reason of this. Ramping is just generally good. And then a top end of a Mountain Drake. We love a random top end that does nothing. It's just a 10 vanilla. We love that. Especially in orange, because we are going to be running challenges, right? So we do want some big units. 1 copy of Flurry of Blades for a little tech piece. 2 Hidden Blades to round out the hidden card with the Pocket Cub. So now we have 4 hidden cards in this deck. Confront, Challenge, Call to Glory works with the buff plan, back-to-back, kind of nice. And another foil card we're going to go with is Overt Operation. So for each friendly unit, spend its buff to ready it, then buff all friendly units. This buffs your whole board. Very cool card for 5 and 2 power. And then for some gear, we have some interesting gear that we're going to give you. 1 copy of each of these gear. Vanguard Helm. Whenever a buffed friendly unit dies, buff another friendly unit. Pretty interesting. And Arena Bar, just tap to buff an exhausted friendly unit. That's pretty awesome. And then Mistfall, when you buff a friendly unit, you can pay orange power to exhaust this and ready it. And then, of course, we have the buff battlefields, Navori Fighting Pit. When you hold here, buff a unit. When you conquer here, you may spend a buff to draw a card on the Monastery. And Grove of the Godwillow, I guess, when you hold here, draw a card, because I guess we can hold with our buffed units. So I believe that this would be a pretty accurate rendition of what the Sett starter deck would have looked like if they made one. 6 and 6, of course. Curve is down here, 13, and it goes down like that. So anyways, that's the Sett one. Let's quickly move on. This video is going to be forever. It's already 5 minutes in. Lost starter Leona. So when you stun 1 or more enemy units, buff a friendly unit. Our champion unit is Leona Determined, shield 1, and when I attack, stun an enemy unit here. Great. So it's an aggressive deck with stunning and buffing. An aggressive attacking deck, but also can have some tricks on defense. So for units, we're going to have our 6 2-drops, because all of the starter decks had 6 2-drops. Soaring Scout to channel a rune exhausted. That's going to be really nice. And Stalwart Poro for just a little defensive guy. Solari Shield Bearer, this is great in this deck. When you play me stun a unit, that's fantastic. And when you stun a unit, you buff a friendly unit. Sunlight Guardian, it's shield 1 and tank, so this can help out as well. Then we have 1 copy of Fiora, because if we can buff her, she gets deflect and ganking and shield when she's mighty. She has to be 5 power or more. So 1 buff will do that. So that's going to be our foil card to go with Leona as a little Fiora. And then we got Wizened Elder, also cares about buffs in green, right? So cool. Solari Chief, when you play me, choose an enemy unit. If it's stunned, kill it. Otherwise, stun it. Perfect inclusion. Eclipse Herald as well. When you stun an enemy unit, ready me and give me +1 might this turn. And a Harness Dragon just for fun. When you play me, kill an enemy unit. So these are the units for Leona that I think would be in the starter deck. And then we have a couple copies of Charm, Hidden Blade, Rune Prison to stun a unit, Facebreaker to stun some units, also hidden, right? Stand United, some more hidden and buff synergies, really cool. Back to Back, also just a great card. And Call to Glory, another buff interaction card. We're going to go with 1 copy of the Solari Shrine, of course. When you kill a stunned enemy unit, you may exhaust this to draw a card, so that's really great in the Leona deck. And then a couple buff, the same kind of buff card here. When you conquer here, you can spend a buff to draw a card. Even more card draw. Fortified Position I chose. When you defend here, choose a unit to gain shield 2. I feel like that's probably also not bad. And Hallowed Tomb I chose as well, just to switch it up, because we do care about our chosen champion quite a bit. Leona is pretty important to the deck, so we're going to go with Hallowed Tomb as well. 6 and 6 split for runes. And that's generally what the Leona deck looks like. Just a lot of stunning. All right, now we have the Lost Starter Kaisa. So this one is going to be caring about spells, kind of a spell slinger deck. So as a reaction, you can add a power, but you can only use this power to play spells. So we're going to be playing a lot of the spells that require power. And then we have the champion unit Kaisa Evolutionary with ganking, a huge 6-cost unit for 6 might. When she conquers, you can play a spell from your trash with energy less than your points without paying its energy cost, and then recycle it. So that's pretty cool. You can play free spells again when this champion conquers, and this champion has ganking, so you can conquer every single turn potentially, which is kind of awesome. Units we've chosen are obviously going to be Ravenbloom Student, right? When you play a spell, she gets bigger. Pouty Poro I chose as well for the next 2 drop. Now we're moving on to the 3s. We got Lecturing Yordle and Eager Apprentice. Of course, Eager Apprentice is great in this deck. It's a spell slinger deck. Then I went with a couple copies of Noxus Hopeful, Jeweled Colossus, Blazing Scorcher, and then the top end we have 1 foil copy of Raging Firebrand, which is kind of underplayed, but when you play this, the next spell you play this turn costs 5 energy less. That's really good tempo, and I think Kaisa is going to love this card in this deck. And then Magma Worm as well. Other friendly units enter ready. We do value entering ready, especially when we have Kaisa Evolutionary that wants to conquer on the turn she comes down. So I think the top end of 1 Magma Worm doesn't seem that bad, especially since we're not going to be deramping ourselves too much with spending power in this deck, because that's what Kaisa does, right? She allows us to generate power, so we're going to be able to get up to 8 runes, no problem, and play this bad boy. It's going to be fine as a top end. For spells, we have 18 spells, quite a few spells. 3 Hextech Rays, right? This requires a power, but in Kaisa, it doesn't really require a power, so that's great. Smokescreen, same kind of idea. It costs a power, just really good reaction. And then Sprite Call, just a really good hidden card. Void Seeker, this is bread and butter. This is a Kaisa card day in and day out. Cost of power as well. Consult the past for some card draw. Fallen Comet, this is a great card to pair up with the Raging Firebrand. The next spell costs 5 less. Well, this is exactly 5, so it'll be free. Just 6 damage to a unit at a battlefield action. Great card. And then another foil here, we're going to go with Progress Day. This also works with the dragon, reduces it to 1. And then with Kaisa, you can spend the power as well to make this not cost the power. And then 2 copies of Singularity. Double power costs here, but Kaisa can reduce 1 of them. So really awesome spell suite here. Also for gear though, Ravenborn Tome. This is another foil rare that we've chosen to include. The next spell you play this turn deals 1 bonus damage for each instance of damage it deals. So this will set you up to add the signature spell Icathian Rain later once you get some upgrades. And then, of course, we got the battlefields of Void Gate, right? So spells deal 1 bonus damage here. Dreaming Tree, first time you choose a friendly unit with a spell each turn, draw a card. I'm not going to lie, I thought that was enemy unit for a second there, but this only says friendly unit, so I'm not sure how good this is in the deck, actually. And then Targon's Peak, when you conquer here, ready 2 runes at the end of this turn. I think this is super good. And same with Void Gate. Dreaming Tree, you could probably find something better for that, actually. 6 and 6 on the runes again. Curve looks something like that. I think this starter deck for Kaisa is super awesome, and I would be very excited to play that one. Next one, though, is Misfortune. We got a little pirate action. Let's see what we can do. So Misfortune, Bounty Hunter, Exhaust, give a unit ganking this turn. So that's pretty cool. We want some attackers, I guess. We want to gank from battlefield to battlefield. Misfortune, the champion unit, the Buccaneer. You can play me to an open battlefield, and friendly units may be played to open battlefields. So we're going to be building around these 2 abilities, ganking and being able to be played to an open battlefield. So we're going to go with 2 drops of Mystic Poro and Pit Rookie. These are just generic 2 drops. They don't really have any synergy with this deck, really. Crack Shot Corsair. This is a pirate, so we are going with the pirate sub-theme. When it attacks, deal a damage to an enemy unit here. This has actually synergies with the ganking, though, because if you can attack every turn, right, you're getting value every turn if you can just gank every turn with this little guy. So that's actually really good. Same with First Mate's another pirate that's just a solid 3-drop. And then a couple copies of Sneaky Deckhand. It's redundant, right? Friendly units can be played to open battlefields. This can be played to an open battlefield, but this costs 3, which means you could do this on turn 1 going second. So a couple copies of that is actually, I think, not too bad. And then a couple Paka Cubs for some hidden, just to beef up our board state. We got Stealthy Pursuer, works really well with ganking. So we give 1 unit ganking, and then the Stealthy Pursuer can move with it, even if this is exhausted, which is super cool. Now, the way to make this work really well, friendly units can be played to open battlefields, is to make sure that we bounce units away from that battlefield. So Zonite Bouncer, when you play me, return another unit at a battlefield to its owner's hand. Bounce that right back, and then all of a sudden, we can play something to the open battlefield again. So that's kind of the plan here. Same with Madden Marauder. This is our first rare card we're adding. It's a tank. When you play me, move a unit from a battlefield to base. So this one doesn't go back to the hand like the Bouncer does, which is crazy that goes back to hand. But this one goes to the base. So still good, making room on the battlefield for us to sneak in there with our maybe hasty ready guys, or just sneaky deckhands, or directly to battlefield plays. I chose to include Sabotage as well for another rare card. Pretty cool. 3 Gusts to bounce some stuff back again. Fight or Flight for the hidden and moving stuff back to base. Cannon Barrage for the pirate theme. Ride the Wind, move a friendly unit and ready it. This is going to be how we win most of our games. This card is super good. Rebuke, return a unit at a battlefield to its owner's hand. This is just another Zonite Bouncer, but as an action speed spell. Fading Memories, a kill spell. And then Arena Bar and Pirate's Haven. This is just for the pirate theme, but also when you ready a friendly unit, you give it +1 this turn, which can work well with the First Mates. And also just for turn, right? When you ready for turn, everything gets +1. So it's kind of nice. And then Arena Bar, we could just buff stuff because pirates go to the bar, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it's not really on theme, but I thought it was kind of cool just to include a couple random cards here. That's what the starter decks do. They just include a couple random cards, get you thinking. So far as the battlefields go, we have Windswept Hillock, units here have ganking. We don't really need this, but it's a little bit redundant in this deck because we can give a unit ganking every turn, basically. But I don't know, maybe if we want to give more people ganking, this could be good. Start of each player's first beginning phase, that player gains a point. This is the arena's greatest battlefield here, and this kind of works with the aggressive plan. We're not a late game deck. This deck is trying to get on the board early, bounce stuff back, and tempo out our opponents for the quick win. That's what this deck is trying to do. So I think the arena's greatest is going to be one of the best battlefields for Misfortune. Along with Back Alley Bar, when a unit moves from here, you give it +1 this turn. So that works really well with Misfortune's ganking ability. So I think Back Alley Bar and the Arena's Greatest are going to be the chosen battlefields, and then Windswept Hillock is more like a third choice. So I think this one's also a really fun, strong starter deck, and I'm pretty happy with the way that this one came together. I think this is going to be a solid list. All right, let's go with Yasuo now. Let's go. So Yasuo Unforgiven, you can pay 2 exhaust Yasuo Unforgiven to move a friendly unit to or from your base. So this has a lot of uses, right? You can basically pay an extra 2 to give any unit accelerate, if I hear this right, because you can move a unit from your base just anywhere. You can send it in. So you can play a unit exhausted in your base and then boom, immediately move it into a battlefield. But you could also move something from a battlefield to your base so that you can re-attack a different location. So it also gives ganking in a way, but I don't think that's the best use of it because I believe the use of it works with Yasuo Remorseful, our chosen champion, which is when it attacks, deal damage equal to its might to an enemy unit here. So the reason why this works really well with Yasuo Unforgiven is basically when you have 8 energy, you play this guy and then immediately move him into a base to get that attack off. So that's what we're trying to do is give our units accelerate for an extra 2 and be a little tricky with movement. We can also be tricky with movement, right, with Kain. This is our chosen extra rare to have. It has ganking, and if it's moved twice this turn, it doesn't take damage. So this is really strong with Yasuo, right? So you just move Kain, and then use Kain to attack a base, and then it's moved twice already. So that's how you give it indestructible. And then we can also pump up our units in battle with this other one, Last Stand, right? Double a friendly unit's might, give it temporary. So this is another rare that we've chosen. So also Tide Turner, really good rare to include. When you play it, you can choose a friendly unit, move me to its location and it to my original location. So you can move a unit for free at hidden reaction speed, which is pretty interesting. So the rest of the deck is pretty standard. Mystic Poros, Stalwart Poros, Sneaky Deckhands, Wielder of Water, Stealthy Pursuer, again, is an all-star, I think, and very underplayed. Psy Scout, and Kain. So this is 19 units here. A little light on the units, I will say. But the curve is there. We're just missing some random top-end units. Starter decks usually include some random top-end. That's okay. Let's move on. We have On Guard, Gust, 3 copies of Gust. We got some Charms, some Disciplines, Fight or Flights, some blocks. Ride the Winds is going to be the best card in this deck for sure. And Last Stand, like I said. We also have Mask of Foresight for attacking and defending alone, which a lot of the times our Yasuo or our Kain are going to be attacking alone. Unless we have the Stealthy Pursuers coming with them. But in that case, that's fine. That's even better. And then the Siren, just another gear that can help move units back to your base to help trigger some stuff for Kain and some things like that to be tricky. Battlefields, we have Windswept Hillock. Units here have ganking, so that works really well with our chosen champion because it just wants to be attacking every turn to be getting that free might damage off, so that's kind of nice. Fortified position, we're also focusing a little bit on defending. A little bit of defense, a little bit of attack. And then Back Alley Bar again, when it moves from here, give it +1. So that works really well with all of our movement abilities with Yasuo, right? We're just moving everybody around and giving them extra might when they do so. So that's kind of the plan here. For a starter deck, this is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this one overall as well. And I like the chosen rare cards that I've chosen, right? Kain is pretty obvious. Tide Turn is pretty obvious. Last Stand, I think, is also pretty obvious because I've seen that in a couple competitive lists. All right, moving on, we have the Lost Teemo starter. So Teemo wants to be playing a lot of hidden cards. So naturally, that's the entire deck is basically a bunch of hidden cards. Let's see what I've done here. So Teemo is the hidden champion here. When you play it, it gets a bonus +3 might, so it goes up to 4 might. We have included a Tide Turner as well, because that is a hidden card as one of the rares. And Ava Achiever, of course, this is the Yordle that when it attacks, you can hide a card immediately. Normally, you can only hide a card when you have control of the battlefield, but this says you don't even have to have control of the battlefield. You can just be attacking a battlefield, and then you can hide a card there, which is really interesting. So this is a really good card as well. And some of the best cards in the deck are Ember Monk. When you play a card from Hidden, you give it +2 might this turn. That's going to be great in this deck. And some other really good cards are the Battlefield Bandle Tree. You can hide an additional card here, so this is going to be really great as well. We have really good hidden cards, Assault the Past for card draw, Sprite Call for surprise 3 might units, Fight or Flight for really nice reaction movement. Got some Smokescreen, Stupefy, Gusts. We got the Mushroom Pouches to keep the cards flowing from the hidden zone. And then we got some Mystic Poros, Ravenbloom Students, of course, because we are going to be playing a lot of hidden spells. Blastcone Fae, even a on-theme card here, Bandle City. And it is a hidden unit. We're going to go with a couple copies of that. Eager Apprentice, make our spells cost a bit less. That could be great as well. Sneaky Deckhands, Lecturing Yordles, another Bandle City card. Got to go with all the Yordles we can. And Ember Monk's also a Bandle City potential Yordle. So the units here are a little weak overall, but when you combine it with the fact that we have a bunch of hidden stuff, they're never going to know what hit them. Dreaming Tree, not bad. Grove of God Willow, not bad for the card draw, because we are going to be probably holding a lot, because we're not really too much of an attacky deck. We're more of a hold our battlefield style deck with tricks. So we can attack, though, right, through smoke screens and stupefies and stuff. But that's the Teemo deck. I think it's neat. I think hidden cards are really cool, and I think playing with this battlefield is going to be really fun. Hiding an additional card here, trying to hold this and put 2 hidden cards is just going to be really interesting. All right, only 3 left. We have Darius, Ahri, and Volibear left. So for Darius, we're focusing on Legion. The whole thing is about Legion. Darius card wants you to play your second card in a turn to get +2 might and ready it, which is great. And the units, we just have a bunch of units. That's a lot, 26 units. So we have 3 of these Legion rear guards, and you can see they have a Noxus tag here. Anything that has a Noxus tag is pretty much in the deck. A Trifarian Glory Seeker, so if it has Legion, you can buff it when you play it. Noxian Drummer just makes some recruits. We are going to be trying to go wide in this deck as well, because we do have a Grand Stratagem in here. We're going to shake down our opponent a little bit, and a very flavorful Darius card there. And we have Draven, of course, as our other rare, which is our brother. That's Darius's brother. Noxus Saboteur, opponent's hidden cards can't be revealed here. That's pretty nice. If you attack the Teemo player, they're not going to be happy with this Noxus Saboteur. Vanguard Captain, Legion, play 2 recruits, really awesome. That's why that costs a power. Noxus Hopeful, really awesome as well. Costs 2 less for Legion, which really costs 3 less because you have an extra mana here. Captain Farron, other friendly units here have Assault, so that's going to be kind of nice with all of the tokens we're making. So Assault 1. Spectral Matron also works really well with Legion, because when you play this, you can play a unit from your trash for no more than 3 for free. So this works really well with this Vanguard Captain here, which needs Legion. So you can play this and then play this like a little mini combo. So a couple copies of each of those to help you get that combo. 3 Blazing Scorchers and a Magma Worm for some top end. And of course, Draven is awesome, right? Might equal to your points. So we're trying to go a little bit aggressive. We got 3 Cleaves, right? Because we are going aggressive. This is Assault 3 for just 1. Really awesome spell. And that is obviously Darius's axe there, if you didn't know. We got the Hextech Raise. We got a Shakedown, Call the Weaks, Hidden Blades, and Back to Back, and Grand Stratagem. Just, of course, some classic spells for the interaction. We got some removal, and we have more removal, some buffs. And so that's kind of the whole thing there. Trifarian War Camp, just +1 power to all the stuff. That's great. Arena's Greatest, you get 1 extra point at the start of the game. That works really well with the Draven and just the general plan. And Altered Unity, when you hold here, you get a recruit in your base. Because we do have the Grand Stratagem, after all. We are trying to win through a glorious finish. So that's Darius. I think Darius is really cool. It really came together with the flavor. All the Noxus cards seem to work together. I really enjoy playing with this kind of level of theme. This level of theme really makes me happy. So I think this deck came together quite well. It's a nice one. Let's move on to Ahri here. All right, almost at half an hour. Oh boy. This is the Nine-Tailed Fox. When an enemy unit attacks a battlefield I control, give it -1 might this turn, to a minimum of 1, of course. And then the Chosen Legend is when you hold here, you score an extra point. Amazing. So the whole idea here is defense. We are trying to stick Ahri on the battlefield and defend her for the entire game. That is the entire plan. So to do that, the chosen extra foil rares we have are Sona. So this is really good because you can play this on Ahri's battlefield and then ready for friendly runes at the end of your turn so that you can hold up a bunch of interaction to hopefully defend your location. We also have Tarek, who is a shield and tank and gives other friendly units here shield. So this is great at protecting Ahri. You can put this next to Ahri, and all of a sudden, they have to get through Tarek first before they can even touch Ahri. And even if they do touch Ahri, she has +1 from the shield that Tarek gives her. And then also we have Blitzcrank, which works really well With the legend ability, when an enemy unit attacks my battlefield, we give it -1. So Blitzcrank says when you play it to a battlefield, you can move an enemy unit to here, which makes them attack our battlefield. That's what that does, because any unit that's moving into a battlefield that they don't control is considered an attacker. This is also a tank, so super good as well. And when you hold, return me to its owner's hand, which is kind of cool, which means you can play this over and over and over again. So I really like these 3 rares that I've chosen for the deck. I really think that they exemplify the strategy that we're going with. As far as the units, we just have Ravenbloom Students, Stalwart Poros, which is great, Blastcone Fae for some hidden, Sunlit Guardian for some more tanks, and Electring Yordle for some more tanks. We just want tanks, a lot of tanks with Ahri. That's kind of the plan here. We want to charm people, because if we move enemy units into our base, again, that's going to trigger the Nine-Tailed Fox ability, -1 immediately. -1 when you move into my base, and also +1 for my Stalwart Poro, stuff like that. So this Stalwart Poro can trade with a 4-mite unit if I just charm it in. But then if I combine that with On Guard, an extra 2, that's great. Stupefy, a -1 again. Now they're basically 0. A couple defies, a couple smoke screens, amazing. A couple blocks to give stuff, tank at reaction speed and hidden, great. Disciplines for some more sneaky buffing tricks. Sprite Call for some more hidden tricks. Consultapass to keep the cards flowing. And of course, Mushroom Pouch to keep the cards flowing, because we do have quite a few hidden cards. And we're trying to control bases, and we're trying to dissuade people from attacking our bases. So that's kind of the plan. Dreaming Tree, this is perfect for this deck because we are choosing friendly units with our own spells to buff them and stuff like that, like On Guard and Discipline. So, and blocks. Grove of the Godwillow, when you hold here, draw a card. That's perfect. We're just trying to hold, right? And then Fortified Position, also really good. We're just trying to defend, give something +2. Shield is fantastic. So overall, I think the Ahri deck actually came together really nicely. Obviously, there's tons of changes you can make to all of these decks, but I'm pretty happy with what I've put together, what I think a starter deck would look like for Ahri. Last but not least, we have Volibear. Now, this one's a little bit wacky because Volibear's ability is kind of wacky. When you play a mighty unit, which a unit is mighty while it has 5+ might. So when you play a mighty unit, you may exhaust me to channel 1 rune exhausted. So this is ramping you almost every turn if you can play a big unit. So, of course, naturally, our chosen champion is the rare Volibear, which costs 12, which, by the way, 12 is all of your runes. All 12 of your runes have to be out. And then you have to play all of them. You have to use your entire turn for this card. And then it costs 2 power as well. Which doesn't matter once you have 12 runes, because you're going to channel another 2 next turn anyway, so it's really no big deal. But then Volibear ramps you another one as well, so it really doesn't matter. Anyway, this guy's shield 3, tank, and when an opponent moves to a battlefield other than mine, draw 1. So this can help you refill your hand. This is card draw, but it's also just a massive unit in the champion zone, which is interesting. We have 23 units, and a lot of them are massive. So we're going to start with Legion Rearguards, which is our only 2-cost unit in the deck. The reason why I've chosen to deviate from the original starter deck plan of always having 6 2-drop units is because I've chosen to treat Mobilize as a 2-cost unit in this deck. It's not a unit at all, but you want to play this on turn 1 if you draw it. So I'm treating it like the other copy here of Legion Rearguard and Mobilize. Those kind of work together. We have Herald of Scales. Dragon cards cost less by 2. That's pretty sweet because we're going to be playing Dune Drake and Blazing Scorcher. So we have 6 dragons here. Plus we have another Mountain Drake on the top end. So we have 7 dragons we can reduce their cost of. This one has Accelerate sometimes. And this one attacks for an extra 2 sometimes. So that's kind of nice. Brazen Buccaneer is really good because you can reduce this cost by 2 and play this for only 4. And that's really good, right? To get a mighty unit, right? We want to have units that have 5 might or more to trigger Volibear's mighty passive. So this is actually really good. And combined with the Obelisk of Power, start of each player's first beginning phase, they channel a rune. You can actually begin the game with 4 energy if you go second. Because normally you get 3 energy, 3 runes if you go second. Well, now you get a bonus 1. So you actually can have 4. Which means on your first turn, you could potentially play Herald of Scales. or Brazen Buccaneer on your first turn going second. So I think that it's nice to have 6 4-drops. It's kind of nice to have. As far as the foil rares, I chose to go with Freljord, triple Freljord, because Volibear is from the Freljord, right? So we have Brynnin Thundersong. Super great. It's a mighty unit, and when you play it, opponents can't play cards this turn. From hidden, from anywhere. Amazing. Super good. We also have a huge 8-might unit, and when it attacks, deal 3 damage to all enemy units here. Just clears out the token players. And Tryndamere, if you conquer after an attack, if you assign 5 or more excess damage to enemy units, you score a point. Amazing. This card's so crazy. And then, of course, we have Stormclaw Ursines. The whole point is to ramp into this 12-cost Volibear, so a little bit of help from Stormclaw Ursine would be fantastic. And a Magma Worm and for some readiness, and Mountain Drake. So those are the units. And Mobilize, right? Channel the rune Exhausted if you can't draw a card. And then Catalyst of Aeons, channel 2 runes Exhausted. If you couldn't channel 2 runes this way, draw 1. So these are just ways we're going to ramp up into these huge creatures. Sky Splitter, really awesome. 5 damage to a unit at a battlefield, and it's reduced by the highest might among units you control. Challenge, we're going to use our big units to challenge other enemies. And Confront, right? This is just stuff can enter ready and draw a card. And then for some removal, we have 2 Iron Ballistas to help us on turn 1. If we're going first and we have the extra rune, we can play Iron Ballista. Just straight up, hey, I'm going first, Iron Ballista. Go ahead, do something. And then your opponent, if they play anything that has 2 might or less, you just, next turn, you just kill it. And I like these are kind of nice. I think this deck is actually low-key really strong for the starter deck meta. But whatever, I didn't come here to build weak decks, I just came here to build starter decks. I think this would fit the starter deck meta pretty well. It kind of defies the curve. The curve is kind of ridiculous. But I still have 2s as the most popular, so it's not too bad. As far as the other ones, the other battlefields, we have Sigil of the Storm. When you conquer here, recycle 1 of your runes. So because we're going to have so many runes, we're going to be able to not really feel the downside of this, whereas our opponents are really going to feel the downside of this. So they might not go here, which is kind of nice. And then Aspirant's Climb, increase the points needed to win the game by 1. We just want to slow down the game a little bit. If we slow down the game a little bit, we might buy us more time to get our big creatures online and get them out. So that's kind of the idea with this one and this one, the same idea, right? This one ramps us and this one slows the game down a bit. It's kind of the same idea. We just want to get our big boys online a little faster. So that's the Volibear deck. I think it's super strong and super fun. Why don't you guys let me know in the comments below what changes you would make to all of these decks. If you think that these starter decks are a little bit weird and you think they're too good or too bad, let me know. Let me know which one is your favorite, which one you would build. And if you like this, give it a like, subscribe if you want. If you want to see more content like this, give me some suggestions. I'm really into Riftbound these days. I've really been into building decks. And I've just been really liking this game. So anyway, thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll catch you in the comments below, and we'll see you next time. Peace.